Hey y'all, welcome back to Nini's Texas Kitchen. So the other day I put online a picture of a couple of my jars of homemade salsa. So I have a bunch of tomatoes that are ready, as you can see. So I'm going to go ahead and make some more and show y'all how to do it. Now, you're going to need several ingredients to make homemade salsa. Obviously, you're going to need fresh tomatoes. You can use canned if you want to have gross salsa, but if you want good salsa, fresh tomatoes is best. And these came straight out of our garden, so they're really super good. Now, I also have 6 chopped jalapenos here, and I did 4 of them with the peppers. With the seeds in them. If you want it spicier, you put more seeds. If you want it less spicy, take the seeds out of your peppers. And I also have 1½ chopped onions here. And in a minute, when I'm done processing the tomatoes, I'll put them all in here and blend them up really good. And then add our seasonings to create our salsa. Now, you'll also need just a little bit of oil, cooking oil. You'll need some lemon juice, salt, cilantro, cumin, and minced garlic. If you want to use fresh garlic, that's fine. I don't have any, but I do have this, so that's what I'm going to use. Now, you have to have a boiling water canner. So that's what I have. This is a pressure canner, but you can use it as a boiling water canner. You just have to take out your little stobs in the top so that steam can come out. So you do water boiling cannon for fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. So we'll get that ready. We won't need that till we're done with everything else. The next thing that you have to do first to prepare your tomatoes is you're going to have to blanch them in boiling water for 1 minute. And then when you take them out of the boiling water, you put them immediately into a bowl of ice water. So I usually do like 3 or 4 at a time, and then I'll put them into my ice water, and then they'll be ready to peel. And so I have my bowl and my little plate here that I'll peel my stuff onto and get rid of it. So we gotta turn this on to start heating to boil, and it won't take that long, because when you blanch them and then you get ready, put them in the ice water, the skin will start peeling back, and then it's easy just to peel it off. Core your tomato, and then you want to take the seeds out. So you de-seed it, and then you chop it up and put it into your food processor. You can make it as chunky or as smooth as you like it for salsa. We like ours with really small chunks and mostly smooth, but if you like yours chunkier, then you wouldn't grind it up into a food processor. You would just cut it up into the size pieces that you want, but we like ours a little bit more like small, fine pieces. So when this starts boiling, we'll come back and show y'all how to blanch your tomatoes and then put them in your ice water and peel them. All right, y'all, we're back. Our water started boiling really good, so now I'm going to add a few tomatoes into my boiling water. So I use a slotted spoon so I don't burn myself and get popped with boiling water. And I just put like 4 or 5 or 6 in at one time, whatever will fit depending on the size of my tomatoes. All right, so I have them in there. Now I'm gonna set my timer for 1 minute. And when it goes off, then I'll take these with my slotted spoon and put them into my ice water. And the skins will be soft, and the sudden change in temperature will make them split. And so when they're cooled off, then I can start peeling them. And once I get these into the cold water, then I'll put my next batch in. So that's what you do. You blanch them. That's how you get them where you can peel the skin off real easy. So we'll show you that. It's going to be like 30 seconds more, and then we can stick them into the ice water. And sometimes I'll just like flip them around in here like this so that I'm making sure that all of the whole thing is getting covered in the boiling water at some point. And you can see this one's already starting to split. See how the skin starts to split off? And then you put them in the ice water. If they're not splitting it, it'll make them split. So it's fixing to beat. All right. So now you just take them. Don't leave them in there too long or they'll be kind of smushy whenever you go to cut them up and take the seeds out. You don't want them smushy, you want them still having some firmness to them. You're not making spaghetti sauce here, you're making salsa. So now I'll let those sit in there for just a minute while I start my next batch. Boom. All right, I'll let those go and then I'll have my last 4 to go in after I take these out. So now that these have sat in my ice water, while that's going, I'll bring these over here and I'm gonna put them in this bowl. See how the skins are peeling off of them like that? See? And then you can feel that one's not split, but it'll be easy to peel because the skin's loose now. So I'm gonna leave those sitting there, bring my ice water back over for my next set. And you just keep doing that, and then once you're ready, you start peeling them. So we'll be back in just a minute. All right, y'all, we're back. We got all of our tomatoes blanched and soaked in ice water for a minute, and now they're, as you can see, they're willingly getting ready to be peeled. So we're gonna start with these, and I'll show you what I do next. Usually you can just take your fingers and you can just grab it and peel it off like this. See how easy that comes off? And then I just have a bowl here to discard that stuff in. Then I'm gonna core it like this. Take that little core out and then slice it open in quarters to take the seeds out. So I just go over the bowl and take out my seeds. Voila. And since I'm gonna use my food processor to chop them up finely, I just go ahead and stick them in there like that. So just pull out your little seed parts. If there's 1 or 2 left, it don't matter. You just want to get as much of them out as you can, to where then you just have tomato peeled and seeded. All right, so I'm going to proceed to do that with all of these, and then we'll come back and show you what the next step is. So we'll see y'all in a few minutes. All right, y'all, so I've just finished peeling and seeding the last 4 or 5 of my tomatoes that I blanched. So what I have now is I have them in the food processor so that I can chop them up just like I did my other ones. So you can see there's some chunks in there and a lot of juice to make your salsa perfect. So when I get done with this, then I'll chop up these with my garlic in there. Processor, it only takes a few seconds. And then you just pop it out. Like that. And then I'm gonna add them to my big bowl. So you'll need a big bowl like this if you're doing a lot of it. Now, this recipe is sort of like, you know, you need certain amounts. I'll read off the actual recipe size to you in a minute. But this is what I do. And then I'll put these onions and jalapenos in here. And you could put like bigger pieces. I'm just gonna chop them up anyway, so that's what I did. And then I'll put my garlic. And like I said, I used 6 to 7 jalapenos and I used 1½ onions. And now I'm using a tablespoon of the minced garlic like you get from the grocery store. If you want to use fresh garlic, then you probably use like 2 of the cloves or 3 of them, just to taste however much you like garlic. That's how much you would put in it. And then you chop this up and add it to the other meat. And then it's a good idea when you're doing these to take it and scrape it down off the side, push it down in there to make sure. That smells good. I wish we had smell-o-vision on YouTube. Y'all would like it. Chop it up small. Like I said, it only takes a few seconds. And then you want to unhook this, your blade, out of your chopper. Drop some onions. All right, so now I'm gonna add them to this. Now I used 15 fresh garden tomatoes. Most of them were large, probably 3 or 4 of them were medium size. So, you know, the recipe calls for 8 cans of diced tomatoes. If you're going to use canned, which is gross, use fresh so your salsa doesn't taste like tin or aluminum. You want it to taste fresh. So now I have my onions, jalapenos, garlic, and tomatoes all in the same bowl. So I'm going to need a big spoon to stir it up with. This slotted spoon, just to mix it all good, like this. And I'm going to can this salsa in jars. But you can make this recipe fresh and just cut it down if you want to have it like for a party or something that you're having that night. You just, once you get it all mixed together, you're supposed to wait about 2 hours letting it chill in the fridge so all the flavors will blend together. Or if you're canning it like me, it's ideal for you to wait 4 weeks after you can it to eat it because all the flavors have had a chance to really blend together. I mean, if you're impatient and you just can't wait, you don't have to wait 4 weeks. It's not going to hurt it anything if you don't wait 4 weeks. It's just you'll get the best flavor after that amount of time. All right, so now I need 1/3 of a cup of lemon juice. And you can substitute lime juice for it if you want to. But I'm just using lemon, because that's what I always use whenever I make it. Stir that up. Mixing it real good. Now, this recipe calls for 3 to 4 tablespoons of salt. That's way too much. You do not want that much salt in it. So, do not quite 1. And then once you mix it together and get all your ingredients in, you can taste it and see if you need more. Because the last thing you want to do is put too much salt in it and then it's ruined. Nobody wants to eat a big old vat of salt. Okay? So maybe 1/2 tablespoon, 3/4 of a tablespoon of salt in a big amount like this, but not the amount that's on this recipe that I'm using. That's a mistake. So then you need just a little bit of oil, and I just pour a tiny bit like that. You don't need like a lot. It just gives it a little flavor. All right. Now the recipe calls for fresh cilantro. 1/2 to 1 bunch of fresh cilantro, depending on how much you like cilantro. If you use it, you can just make sure you're chopping it up in enough small enough pieces where you can dip it on a chip. But I just like to use dried cilantro, and I just get about a tablespoon of it in my hand like so, and then I rub it together, crushing it up, making it small like that. That will also help release the flavors of dried seasonings when you use them in cooking, if you rub them together in your hand. And now I can smell the cilantro a lot better since I did that, crushed it up. If you want to use a mortar and pestle thingy, you can, but my hands work just as good. Now you want just a little bit of cumin. You don't want too much. You don't want your whole salsa to taste like cumin. So it calls for I believe it's a teaspoon, but you may not want that much. It just depends on how much you like it. So, teaspoon of cumin. Stir that up. Now, if I was gonna serve this salsa fresh at a party, I would just put a lid on it and put it in my refrigerator and let it chill for 2 hours before it was time to serve it. But I'm not doing that. I'm using jars so I can can it. So I have already washed and sterilized my jars and lids and bands, okay? So, what I'm gonna do is open them up and use my ladle and put some in my jars, like so. I'm thinking this is gonna make like 4 jars or so. I'm not really sure exactly. So you want to have about 1/4 of an inch of headspace from your salsa to the top edge of your jar. Because when you put it in the hot water boiling canner, it's got to have room inside of it in case any of it starts boiling while it's in there. So once you get your jars filled up, just make sure that you wipe off the sides real good. You don't want that stuff in your water. And then put your lid and cap on like that. Just hand tight. Don't try to crank down on it. Just barely until it stops, okay? So that's my first one. Now, fill up our next one. So I'm gonna finish filling these jars, and when I get ready to stick it in the canner, we'll come back and show you what to do next. All right, y'all, we got our salsa all mixed up and put in our jars. Don't that look pretty? Okay, so now the next step is I have all my lids on there good with the bands, just hand tight. So as you can see, I have my big pressure canner but I'm just gonna use it as a boiling water canner so you can see the water. You'll need one of these jar holders whenever you're doing this, so you're not trying to touch hot jars because you'll drop them and you'll burn yourself with 3rd-degree burns. So you just take it and you want to set them in it, and you want your jars to be about 2 inches apart, and it has to have one of those racks in the bottom so that your jars aren't sitting directly on the metal that's contacting the heat source, okay? And you have to put enough water in them to where it will cover the tops of your jars. So see how they have water over them? Okay, and it needs to be, usually they say about 1 inch. It doesn't have to be 1 inch, but it has to completely cover them. They can't just be kind of, sort of at the top where it's like over it like that. So if you're using a pressure canner to do your water boiling cannon, there's little doobob things you have to take out so that steam can escape. Now, you do have to put it on there and close it like so, and then turn your heat on to high or medium high. The higher you have it, the quicker it'll start boiling. Now, I'm just gonna watch it. I can't see in there obviously because I have a lid on it, but once you start seeing the steam come out of the little holes, you'll know that it's about to boil or it's already boiling. So when you see that, listen to it and see if you hear the water bubbling, because the jars will be going like moving around a little bit in there. Then set your timer for 15 minutes and let it go for 15 minutes. And then when it's done, turn off the heat, open it, and use your same can holder to take them out, and you set them on towels and just let them sit there until they cool. Hours, okay? And we'll be back in a little bit to show y'all that part. All right, y'all, my timer just went off after my 15 minutes. once it came to a boil. And so they're ready to take out. So they're hot, so you have to use the jar holder to get them out. So I just pick them up and I tilt them a little bit to let some of the water run off. And then I put them on my towel. Just like that. Now, what I do is I take a paper towel and I just barely go around and clean it tops off from the water. Now, if you've never done at-home canning before, when you do them and you put them in here, these little lids, they have like a little spot in the middle that's kind of up, kind of a hump. As the jars sit here and cool, the way you know you have a good seal on them is you'll hear a little sound where it goes thoop, and your little centers are sucking down, showing that you have sealed, because as it cools, it'll suck that down. And once it does that and they've sucked down, you can come over and you can see if you need to twist your lids any, your bands. A lot of times you don't need to, but you can test it. Then the next thing that you'll do is write the date on the top, and you're supposed to use them within a year. A lot of times, as long as you have pressure cooked them long enough in your canner, they'll last longer than a year, but at least a year to maintain the proper color and flavor and everything like that in your stuff. So that's why you put the date on it. So I have some left that I saved instead of doing that, so we're going to give it a try and let you see how good that turned out. So let me get out my tortilla chips and we're going to try some. I have a little bit left, not enough to go into a whole nother jar, just a little bit left for us to enjoy tonight. So let's try it out. Look at that salsa on that chip. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Perfect. If y'all like my video on how to prepare and can your own homemade fresh garden salsa, please like my video, share it to others, and subscribe to my channel. And I just want to say I appreciate all you guys who subscribe to my channel and all of you who watch my videos. Thank you so much. Come back and see us next time in Nene's Texas Kitchen.